takut ketinggalan dari teman-teman yang sudah lebih dulu belajar.
Dulu aku baru sadar kalau pemrograman web itu lumayan kompleks.
Latar belakang aku dari non-IT kadang-kadang membuat aku bertanya juga, kira-kira aku bisa survive nggak ya?
Matematikanya itu sangat sulit. Pertama-tama saya belajar di teknik informatika.
Keterbatasan ekonomi keluarga yang membuat aku bertanya, apa aku bisa?
Dari jurusan Geofisika Universitas Indonesia.
Dari jurusan Teknik Informatika Universitas Pajajaran.
Dari jurusan Manajemen Universitas Brawijaya.
Saya dari jurusan Teknik Informatika Universitas Telkom.
Dari jurusan Teknik Informatika Universitas Negeri Malang.
Meski kuliah di jurusan Geofisika, aku tertarik belajar IT karena saat ini digitalisasi sudah mulai banyak diterapkan di berbagai bidang, termasuk geofisika.
Dulu di semester 3, aku ada mata kuliah namanya Object Oriented Programming. Dari situ aku belajar bahasa Java. Seniorku bilang, kalau kamu suka OOP dan kamu suka Java, ada baiknya kalau kamu coba develop Android.
Karena salah satu drama Korea yang bernama Startup, terus aku merasa, kayaknya seru juga ya belajar tentang wawasan teknologi.
Aku tertarik ke machine learning ini karena aku punya visi bahwa kita itu akan terbantu dengan komputer.
Aku ingin belajar IT karena sejak kecil aku suka main komputer yang dibelikan ibu, dan ibu dukung penuh cita-citaku karena beliau ingin masa depan aku yang lebih baik.
Aku pilih Bangkit karena Bangkit merangkul orang-orang non-IT seperti aku dan memberi ruang kepada perempuan untuk sama unggulnya seperti laki-laki.
Aku pilih belajar di Bangkit karena program ini diadain Google dan industri keren lainnya seperti Goto dan Traveloka.
Aku ikut Bangkit karena pengen belajar ingin membuat startup seperti Nam Dosan dan juga Sodelmi di K-Drama Startup.
Aku pilih belajar di Bangkit karena aku melihat alumni-alumni lulusan dari Bangkit itu sangat terkenal di industri-industri Indonesia sekarang.
Aku ikut Bangkit karena Bangkit punya program bursa kerja untuk semua lulusannya.
Di Bangkit, aku mendapat pengalaman untuk membuat sebuah aplikasi bernama Dress On Me, di mana Dress On Me ini merupakan sebuah aplikasi untuk mencoba pakaian secara digital.
Aku dapat ilmu pengetahuan Android yang komprehensif. Selain itu ada kelas bahasa Inggris dan juga soft skills yang sangat membantu dalam aku berkembang di dunia profesional.
Setelah Bangkit, aku dapat banyak, mulai dari timku masuk top 50 Capstone Project, kemudian juga aku lulus dengan predikat distinction.
Aku mendapatkan banyak kenalan baru, mulai dari teman-temanku hingga sampai expert-expert yang di industri saat ini.
Setelah ikut Bangkit, aku dapat ilmu Android yang bermanfaat dan juga pekerjaan full-time dari Bangkit Career Fair.
Kini, Dress On Me berhasil mendapatkan dana inkubasi sebesar 140 juta rupiah dari Google dan Dikti.
Aku jadi software development engineer intern di Dana Indonesia.
Sekarang aku jadi advisory associate di PricewaterhouseCoopers Indonesia.
Sekarang kesibukanku adalah bersama teman-temanku membangun startup yang bernama Kerjago.
Sekarang aku jadi Android developer di PT Prima Vista Solusi.
Okay, hi, good afternoon everyone. Welcome to our session today on Women in Tech. My name is Vidya and I'm a Bangkit graduate from Machine Learning Path back years ago. It's good to be back and we're so excited to have all of you here today. As we all know, the technology industry is one of the most rapidly growing sectors in the world. It has revolutionized the way we live, work, study, and it continues to shape our future. However, despite the growing demand for tech talent, women are still underrepresented in this field. Today, we are here to discuss the challenges and opportunities for women in tech. Our speaker will share her experience, insights, and practical advices on how to navigate this dynamic in this competitive industry. Well, before we start the session, I would like to remind everyone to approach the discussion with an open mind, respect, and to engage in constructive dialogues. We welcome your questions and feedbacks throughout the session. And next up, I'm going to share the results of a survey we conducted with the students prior to this event. We asked our audiences what topic they would like to know and learn more about being women in tech, as well as what are the biggest challenges and fears that they face in this industry. Here are some of the key takeaways from our survey. As you can see, the majority of the respondents expressed their interest in learning more about technical skills needed for a career in tech, challenges women face in the tech industry, and building a supportive network in the tech industry. Respondents also identified gender biases and discriminations in the workplace, fear of failure, or not being taken seriously, as well as balancing work and personal life as some of the biggest challenges and fears they face in this industry. However, many respondents are excited about the opportunities available for women in tech. Well, everybody, we will delve deeper to some of these topics with our guest speaker today, including the challenges and opportunities for women in the tech industry. So, sit tight, prepare your water bottles, snack, notebook, and get ready to be informed, inspired, and empowered by our special speaker. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome our speaker, Mbak Fibriyani Elastria, the Chief Marketing Officer of Pinhome, an accomplished tech professional with years of experience in the field. Mbak Fibriyani, are you here?
Hi, I'm here. Hello, everyone. How are you?
Hi.
Hi,
Thank
Vidya.
thank you for joining us today, Mbak. What do you prefer us like to call you? Is it okay if we call you Mbak Fibriyani or
Just
Mbak Fibri?
Mbak Fibri, I think it's short enough.
Okay, Mbak Fibri, how are you doing, Mbak?
I'm great. It's Friday. Friday is always a great day.
Oh yeah, TGIF. Yeah,
TGIF,
hashtag.
yes.
Yes, very well. Well, can we just start the session because we cannot wait to like hear more about you.
Sure. Let's go.
Okay. Well, we're so curious, Mbak. Could you tell us about your career journey in the tech industry and how you got to where you are right now?
Okay, so I guess in overall, I have been working in professional life for like 22 years of experience. And out of those 22 years, I've been in tech industry for around 8 years. And even this fact is kind of like surprising to me because it doesn't feel that long. And I guess maybe because, there's always something new, something fun, something challenging, something exciting, right? And it started with when I was working in Google Indonesia as the head of consumer marketing as well as the brand and reputation. And then I moved to GoPay as part of the GoTo. And just pretty recently, I moved to Pinhome, where I am today. So yeah, it's been a very fun 8 years so far. Sometimes it feels like 50 years because of the amount of learning, the amount of things that are happening. The fast pace of the industry is beyond what I ever experienced in other industries before. Yeah.
Wow. So sometimes it's like fast forward or like a little a pause here and there in the career
Or just simply chaos.
or simply chaos. Exactly. So maybe going back a little bit before that, what got you interested in technology industry in
Right.
the first place?
Ha, in a million years, I will never thought initially that I will be working in tech because I always considered myself as pretty tech, yeah. Like something happened with my laptop, okay, I'll just go to the tech stop and let them take care of it because like technology hates me. That's what I used to think about myself, right? So what brought me to tech industry to begin with was, I think it wasn't planned at all. At that time, I was already in a pretty senior position, very, I would say, safe, secure kind of work and job. However, I didn't really find sense of fulfillment, right? And I guess, throughout your career life, you personally will also evolve you will start understand more and more about what's important to you, what truly matters, what are you looking for, and it changed over the years. And I think at that point, it was also a turning point where I realized, having a high title, having a big number of people, or even having a very good, compensation and benefit did not fulfill me internally. And then I guess the opportunity with Google came at that time. And I tried to embrace and put aside my fear of technology by just trying to find out more about what Google is all about. And bear in mind, it was still, I think, 2015. So like Google Indonesia was not that established just yet. It was still at the pretty early stage, right? And at that time, because I'm in the marketing, right? So even I was questioning, what can marketing do for Google? Like everyone knows Google in the world, like why we need marketing? But anyway, I just kind of like try to understand more about the organization, what they do, all of those things. Then one thing fascinated me was like the kind of impact that the organization is making on everyday life of millions and billions of people in the world. So I just thought like, oh, wow, I want to be part of this, ability to influence and having some impact in people's life in a way that makes life becomes even more fulfilling, right? So I think that desire was what brought me into tech to begin with. I guess that's how I fell in love with the industry. And even during the crazy chaos throughout the journey, for example, or during a very, very tough period, for example, if I even ask myself very honestly, do I want to find another place or another industry? The answer is still no. Hence why I am here today, right? Because like the excitement, the sense of fulfillment, I guess that's what matters for me. That's what's important. So yeah, that's what brought me here. That's why I'm still here today.
Wow. So there are other important things than just merely the job, but seeking passion, seeking self fulfillment. That is also important while navigating your career. And I guess that's what brought you here in Pinhome. So recalling those extensive, amazing career journey, what are the things that you are most passionate about, especially in your current role?
I guess I'm the kind of person, like over the years, I started to really realize it's very important for me to have a clear sense of purpose. And then when it comes to a job, then feeling like what I do every day actually making an impact that is greater than just me and my personal circle. And with Pinhome, so Pinhome is this end-to-end home solution that is still based in Indonesia, right? But what I'm really passionate about is because I feel like Pinhome has this mission of enabling access to property for the first-time home buyers in Indonesia, and that really resonates with me. Why? Because I came from a very humble family background. I've gone through a lot of challenging situation from my upbringing, right? Even at some point when I was on the third grade, I just realized during my process with Pinhome as well that our family was almost literally homeless at that time, and like my parents were ready to split up, and then it was such a big deal because a home is a place where you can just go to and build family life, right? So I felt like now I have this opportunity to bring impact where people can create their life and know what it means to have this peace of mind, to have your own home, knowing that nobody can make you feel like, okay, I don't know where to go to now, or like not knowing whether the next day where I should sleep, right? It makes a very big difference for my family when we finally got to our first home. And I guess basically I realized that throughout the years, my passion is really about making impact. And I found it everywhere I was when I was in Google, but then it evolves into, oh, I also wanted to make impact in terms of financial access. Hence, I joined GoPay. And then now it's also about, making sure Indonesian people can have their first home. And for me, it's very important that we're a first home buyer, because it means we are not just looking for, rich people who can just buy houses for investment, but we're really enabling people to have roof over their head, giving them that peace of mind. And our focus is basically not just the middle up kind of segments, right? It's really those people that's still kind of like paving their way up, but it's really enabling them to have a life-changing situation, because they know at least now I'm secure thinking about my house, and I can think about other things in life for my family. So yeah, throughout my journey, I guess that's the kind of evolution of understanding myself that I also find along the way.
Wow. So, ladies and gentlemen, we just heard a very important takeaways that actually Mbak Fibri's passion in creating or enabling more and more people access to housings is also a powerful tool to get Mbak Fibri far and beyond. And I think at this point, I also need to, take notes for myself as well. So next, Mbak, just as importantly, what are some of the most common challenges that women face in this industry, and how can these challenges overcome?
Um, I think in general, right, there are still several common challenges that women still find in the professional world today, right? So one would be the gender bias, which means, you'll find every now and then that you will get unequal pay, for example, or somebody else, which is usually a male, got promoted faster than you, or when you are trying to apply for a job, then they choose the male more just because they felt like, okay, female usually will take some maternity leave at some point. Sometimes they even ask you during the interview, like, are you getting married anytime soon? Are you planning to have babies? I think this kind of gender bias is still happening pretty much all over the world. And I think, yeah, I've gone through that as well, right? The other thing is also this underrepresentation of female in the professional world, in the corporation. And I guess particularly, you can really see it mainly amongst the leadership roles. And what it means is then a lot of females that are still kind of like trying to create their path forward are not really having as many support, as many kind of like cheerleaders along the way for them to also moving up, right? Because I think the challenges of being women, there are different kind of expectations that we put towards ourselves, and the society puts towards us, right? Hence, not having enough representation in the upper level is making life a bit more challenging for female compared to the male. Last but not least, which I actually feel is the real biggest challenge, because it is actually coming from ourselves, is the imposter syndrome. And I've seen this playing way a lot more amongst female compared to male. We have the capability, we have all the skills needed, and even probably we are doing it better than our peers. But somehow, some way, we don't fully believe on that. We felt like we're faking it. We felt like, yeah, people think good of me just because they didn't know the full truth. It's because they're just seeing some part of me. Like they're being our own devil that is telling ourselves, hey, we're not actually good enough. they just didn't know yet, and they'll find out, right? So for me, actually, amongst the other two, that in many ways, it's not something that we can immediately control, right? Imposter syndrome is the one that you can at least immediately act on and control and improve. So yeah, I guess these are basically, in my mind, are the top three main challenges.
Wow, I totally can relate to that. And I noticed that some of these challenges are actually nothing technical, ya Mbak, ya.
True, true. It's really mainly about either it's belief or, well, yeah, society beliefs, or then personal belief, or simply a situation, yeah, a stat.
Right, right. So, on a related note, is there any technical skills that you think are essential, especially for women who want to pursue career in the tech world, and how can we acquire these skills?
I guess if we talk about skills, I would say the more general ones are the important ones, because when we talk technical, then it really depends on the kind of functions or area that you are interested in, right? For example, like artificial intelligence, machine learning, programming, digital marketing. I think there are so many opportunities. But then in terms of the more generic one, which I feel like the biggest difference that I've experienced is really needed to survive and thrive in tech industry compared to other industries. Because if we look back to our journey, we didn't get the chance to talk about it a lot, tadi ya. But then I was in so many different industries before. So I started with automotive industry, then I moved to consumer goods industry, then I moved to insurance industry, then I moved to education and industry, then I moved to tech industry, right? So I guess the kind of capabilities that is really important, or skill that is really important, I would club them into like three main things. One is really being data-driven, analytical thinking. Because even, for example, I'm a marketer. I've been a marketer for 22 years of my life, right? And I guess before joining tech, I think being marketer, most cases are mainly about communication, creating narrative, right? Not so much about data crunching, analytical thinking, except when I was in P&G and probably Coca-Cola. But then as I joined Google, for example, and now until today, then, you know, that expectation is really, really like basic hygiene factor, right? Let alone if you are going to a very technical kind of field within the tech industry, then it's definitely a hygiene factor. So that's one. And this is applicable for all other roles. Even, for example, when I joined Pinhome, then my creative team, for example, is asking, Mbak, what should be our OKR ya? OKR is like key success indicator lah ya. Matriksnya apa kalau kreatif? Because before I join, their creative measurement itu dilihatnya dari, ini nggak apa-apa ya, if I just continue agak campur supaya lebih just lebih mengalir ya, just like my natural habit. Supaya, so before I join, jadi biasanya creative itu is more about how many tasks that they deliver. But like it doesn't show the quality of the work, right? And it's creative, it's so hard to measure gimana. But then the beauty of tech, right? When you run an ads, then you have a CTR, click-through rate, for example. Then it is still data-driven. Then what we do now is on weekly basis, we look at our CTR for the creative team. Is it doing better? Is it doing worse? Hence, what do we do about it? Should we refresh? Should we change the copy? Should we what? Right? So there's always some level of data-driven thinking that is required regardless your function within tech industry. That's one. And then the second one is also this general cognitive ability, or basically your critical thinking, your thought process, your problem solving ability. And I remember back from my Google days, this is one of the most important element that we are looking at during our hiring. And in most cases, even for marketing, this is where most people failed. So you can be really smart, for example, in terms of, in terms of understanding data, or you can be really good at whatever your GPA. But then when the thought process is still lacking, when you are not being curious enough to understand the why before you jump into the solution, for example, right? Before you jump into the overall action plan, then it means your general cognitive ability, your critical thinking is not there yet. So I guess a lot of time, right, what I witness, especially amongst, well, I guess it's not only amongst the young people, but even amongst the senior one. But I think it's also pretty cultural base for Indonesian. We try to focus so much on being able to answer question. A lot of times we forgot what is the right question to ask. So for example, when we give a candidate a question about, okay, if I give you, let's say, if I give you the this amount of budget, for example, to grow Google search, what are you going to do about it? For example, that's like one simple, very big question. Then some candidates will immediately jump into, okay, I'll do, let's say, TV ad, I'll do this, I'll do that, whatever. What is missing is they ask like question to understand more about the challenges, for example, or then they're thinking bigger from the fundamental, okay, Google search. So what is that category means? Who are the people that I'm targeting? What kind of habit when it comes to searching? All of those things. So understanding the base, the thought process, to understand what truly matters that will be required to grow the business. So you need to have that train of thoughts, right? That's critical thinking. That's problem solving. So it's not just always about immediately answering the question, but the ability to digest the question, the ability to even asking back a question to clarify your thinking, for example. I think it's also very, very important. And it should be important wherever you are, whatever industry, even in your day-to-day life. But I guess in tech, that's where I feel like this is expected even higher than any other places I've been in. Then last but not least, I guess because tech is still in a way evolving in a lot of ways, right? You still see a lot of startups, and now we are going through this sort of like roller coaster ride where you see a lot of layoffs happen, all of those things. And, I've been in different stages of startup as well throughout my 8 years of career. Google is already very established, but, jangan sedih. There's still a lot of chaos that happens on the day-to-day that you don't really expect coming from such a huge giant company, right? Let alone when I moved to Google, when I moved to GoPay, then, there's always this ambiguity, there's always this chaos. And then now moving to Pinhome, that is even still in the middle stage, right? So I guess the ability to navigate without someone needs to hold your hand, tell you what to do, I think is also very, very critical in tech industry. And sometimes this is something that you cannot just learn or you cannot just, have, right? Sometimes you need to go through it through experience, right? And some people, especially when they're already pretty set in their thinking, their mind, sometimes probably that's when they have even more challenges because you need to be very agile. You need to be able to think on your feet. You need to be able to embrace this whole ambiguity and chaos and put a structure into it to help you navigate, right? So those are, I think, the three main critical skills that I would say is highly required, no matter what kind of functional function that you will want to go to. And I guess in a nutshell, if we can go to the next slide, in a nutshell, the summary would be to have this intellectual curiosity. Sometimes people have this belief, oh, if I ask too many questions, then I may sound dumb. Or even you hold yourself to think about how should I ask this question so that I sound smart, gitu kan? So you stop there. You don't really even voice that out, for example. And I guess I've seen this dynamic plays out across different level, no matter where you are. Because kalau udah senior, then you feel like kalau gue tanya, nanti orang pikir gue nggak tahu, then they don't have respect for me. Tapi kalau for junior, then you have so many different inner mind that scares you to just say it, kayak penting nggak sih ditanya, terdengar bodoh nggak sih ini, like how should I ask, terus tiba-tiba then the topic already moved, right, then you just miss the momentum. Tapi for me, like I think you need to just really push, you need to find that voice, but think through the right questions. And to be able to do this, to be able to have these 3 elements that we talked about just now, I think you need to, first of all, be open mind, just kind of like learn from every possible sources, mau dari, reading articles, reading books, talking to someone that you feel like knowledgeable, all of those things, right, for sure. Then you need to just practice. Because even in your day-to-day life, you can try to push for that critical thinking, for example, and even regardless your level and age. For example, I have 2 boys, right, 12 and 9. And then, I started to kind of like push on that problem solving and critical thinking. Misalnya, kayak just 2 days ago, I broke my phone. It fell down, like LCD completely broken. And then today I come to the office and I just told them, for example, aduh, mami handphonenya rusak nih, gimana ya? What do you think I should do? So, they start coming with, all different possible solutions. Then I'll kind of like, oh, tapi ini nggak bisa. What else do you think we can do? Jadi, so just practice. Find every possibilities to be able to practice. If you are afraid of failure, then try a smaller scale. And then ask for feedback, right? Maybe you have someone that you feel comfortable with, then you can share, hey, I'm gonna try this. Can you then tell me about how I'm doing? Give me input, all of those things. Or then you can talk to your boss, your manager, right? Okay, give me a project where I can probably shape more of my critical thinking, of my ability to just deal with this very vague project, for example, like volunteer, take projects, right? And seek mentorship, seek network that can help you grow together, right? Because, when you find other people that are also going through the same kind of situation and trying to aim for, a personal growth, then you can kind of like support and remind each other. And it always feels nice. Even when you are at your bottom, then you can kind of like be in pain together, for example, because it's okay to feel like a failure at one point, but then what's important is also to find strength to move back up and move on, right? And it's a cycle, right? It's a cycle. So continuously to learn, practice, get feedback, and iterate, and just, go through that cycle over and over. But I guess always remind yourself about what is the right question that I should ask or that I can ask to understand about this situation better. Hence, I can find the solution better, right? Hence, I can do this task better, more effective, faster, easier, or whatever that is. I guess that would be my sort of like words of wisdom about what's the skill that are important in tech.
Wow. So identifying the skills that we probably don't know yet is also important, Yamba. And then seeking for like mentorship, and then continuously, advancing ourselves in that skill is also very important. Not only that we're focusing on the tech skill sets, but also the nature of tech itself is very dynamic, and we have to be able to, be agile. And then, but we also talked about critical thinking. Um, Maybe that is like very helpful for like navigating what are the next possible tech development that we can create together with the team, and etc. And I think that is a very important point to note down. And I also want to like emphasize, even though we are in the topic of women in tech, it is a very important information for all leaders, regardless of their gender, to give
Sure.
equal amount of support and to encourage women and men, not only women, to excel in the fields they're passionate about. Even though, again, when we're looking at the statistics, although we are doing better and better than before, it is still undeniable that in tech world we are still facing gender imbalance, like Mbak Fibri explained before. When talking about your professional career throughout the years, have you ever encountered a situation where oops, sorry, I got disconnected.
Okay. No
Okay,
worries. Welcome back, Vidya. I was
yeah,
wondering, is
thank
it
you.
me?
So yeah, we're gonna go back to where we left. Looking at the statistic, even though we are just doing better at solving this gender imbalance, we're still should work on it. And in the years of your professional career, have you ever found a situation where this gender imbalance became a core challenge while navigating your career in the industry?
Um, in tech, I think I am blessed never to really experience that. And if any, I think being women actually comes with advantage, honestly. But that doesn't mean that challenges are still not there. That is, happening out there with other women, right? So, for example, in Google, I think even I think we all know that Google is very strong in terms of culture and diversity, and inclusion is one of the main values that they always try to live and breathe, right? And even in the marketing of Google Indonesia during my time, I think we need to be very intentional to hire men, because most of us, like out of like I think 30, more than 30 people, mostly are females. And it wasn't planned, right? Then we realized, oh, whoa, we have such a female organization. We need to really hire more male, right? So in Google, I think, yeah, it's a different challenge. And when I was in GoPay, there were periods where I was the only female leader amongst all my peers. But I didn't feel it was a bad thing at all, because I guess being women comes with advantage, right? For example, you have a lot more empathy usually, like you can get a better sense about other people's feelings, about other people's mood, and it's easier for you to be able to put yourself in other people's shoes. And then also the other one is also ability to multitask. I feel like women always excel better in most cases. I'm trying not to be biased here, but I guess those are, at least for me personally, two things that I felt like, oh, this is actually my superpower compared to all the others, right? Then with that, it was actually very helpful for me to connect the other, functions within the companies, or even when somebody got a bit upset, but we were like not sure, is he upset upset because of something, then I can have my personal approach to make sure like the person can share a bit more, then I can understand how to help and make the situation better for everyone. For example, all of those things, right? And in Pin Home now, actually in the C-level, we're 50-50. So even my CEO is a woman, is a female, right? So I personally, I don't really have that challenges coming from external about being female. However, what I personally experience is back to that imposter syndrome, back to like not fully believing that, oh, I'm pretty awesome. I had that period, right? I had that moment, because a lot of people say that I am very critical towards myself. And I have this tendency to be so hard on myself with very, very high standard, for example. At the same time, it comes with a benefit because then, I always aim high, right? Or I have my own expectation towards what it means being a mom. And for example, when I was in Google, like I had so many business trips. Like every month there must be at least, 1 week of business trip, if not 2 weeks of business trips. And at that time, my kids are still a lot younger. So like it came with a lot of guilt. I felt like I'm not being a good mom. I wasn't being a good daughter. I wasn't being a good sister because I couldn't really spend, so much time with my beloved ones, right? But honestly, it was really expectation that I put towards myself. It's not because my kids complain. It's not because my parents complain. They understand. They were supportive, but I have that expectation towards myself. So I guess those are natural because female also have that tendency, and we tend to have these expectations that are a lot bigger when it comes to the personal side of life towards ourselves. And even for many people, society also put that pressure on them, right? So being aware about this is also helpful because sometimes, those expectations maybe because it reflects what truly matters for you and you need to stay true to it, right? For example, for me, family truly matters for me. So there was a point where I took a break from work because I want to be there for my family, and it's okay. And that has been one of the best decisions I made because I learned from that, even when it was actually not the right decision, right? But I know at least, I know I've done the right decision for the things that truly matter for me. So just understanding between when you put more pressure into yourself just because your own expectation versus what are the external, pressure that are coming, and understanding how to go about it, I think it's also very important.
Wow, I really like the idea of bringing up the qualities that female have, and actually like seek or trying to find solutions that involve our quality in the way we, work. And I think on the work side, I want to ask about this more. With the qualities that women showcase, like you mentioned before, compassion, cooperation, empathy. What are some of the most exciting opportunities that you find in the industry? How are these qualities are key to ace those positions? And when we
Yeah.
get the position, when we get into that leadership positions, what can we do to prevent the gender related problems from happening under our supervision?
Right. I guess when it comes to opportunities, right, there are definitely many exciting opportunities out there. And despite the tech industry may not be as shiny as it used to be in the past 1 to 5 years, right? But in reality, it is still growing. It's just growing a bit slower, right? And people are being more mindful. So when it comes to opportunities that can be a very good fit with this tendency of female that can actually give us a bit more edge compared to male, as we talk about, right, Vidya? I can think of several things, right? For example, like sales and marketing definitely can benefit a lot from having that understanding about other people, that empathy, that compassion, that ability to read the room, right? And kind of like even for marketing, or let's say for researcher, that ability to translate what people are actually saying, what people are telling versus what people are actually saying, and translate that into the right insights and becoming the right strategy and the right action plan, for example, right? The other one I can think of is product manager, for example, like product management roles, because it's all about solving problems, right? Usually a product will fly when it's solving a real problem for the users. Then to be able to solve that problem, then you really need to have a very good understanding first about the users. So again, those skills is really, really important, because sometimes just looking at data, but not really having the qualitative insights and the understanding about the underlying things that are happening, or the underlying drivers of why this is becoming an issue or why this is important for the users, then you will not be able to come up with a very, very strong and solid product to solve their problems, right? And especially for Indonesia, we all know that when when you just do it through research that is pretty formal, then the tendency from the respondents are trying to give you the right answer that makes you happy. Then you need to be able to kind of like capture those nuggets that they may not even saying, and kind of like make something out of it that makes sense, but also capture the essence of that, what they're actually saying without saying it. It's very vague, right? But that's reality. And in a lot of ways, female can do it better than males. I feel. And I guess what else? Even customer service, right? Because customer service is also very important in tech industry. There's always some problem with the product. There's always some bugs, right? Then as much as it sounds like customer service doesn't require data, for example, data-driven thinking, but that ability to be able to communicate well, to have that empathy, to understand why they're frustrated, and to be able to translate that into, even becoming a brand love, I think that takes a lot, right? And this whole ability from women to be able to kind of like make the situation better just because they are able to understand the feel and understand what is not being said verbally. It's a superpower, and we need to really leverage on that. We need to really like write on that. And I guess that's also what helps me to be where I am today, is because simply sometimes people feel like they can share more, they can be more open about their real issues, their real situation that may not be related to work, but it actually impacting their work, right? And it helps you to be a more effective leader, because then your team feels that, oh, I'm being treated as a human and as a whole person that still have some potential issue in my personal life. And that's okay, because then, my manager, my boss understand that it still impact my overall professional performance, especially when you're working from home still, for example. Like in the case of Pin Home, actually, we are still fully remote, working until today, right? So I guess being able to kind of like fine-tune, iterate, and sharpen and nurture that, and build a very, I would say, safe psychological space for the team. And it's not only about the team, right? Once you go up the ladder, then you're becoming, the leader for the cross-functional team as well. Then being able to create that safe psychological space for people is very important for a leader to be effective, because you deliver the number through the people, not just through yourself, right? So how to make them become their full performing version, right? Their best, to unleash their best version at work by enabling them to be their best version of their full self I guess that's also the role of a leader, and it seems like female can do a lot of amazing things with what we are given by God, I guess.
Wow, I feel empowered here, but thank you very much. And I hope all the people attending this session will, get the same empowerment that you're projecting. And lastly,
Amen.
for me, maybe just a little bridging story. We know that there is a space race during the Cold War back then, and there were three human computers who were addressed as the hidden figures behind NASA's successful mission to orbit the Earth. The story of the trio, Katherine Johnson, Mary Jackson, and Dorothy Vaughan, to bring astronaut John Glenn land safely on Earth was pivotal in the space exploration, and it has become a very inspirational story. In the similar spirit, do you have any personal experience or stories of a woman or women who have succeeded in the tech industry, and what are the lessons that we can learn from these figures?
Yeah, I think I will start by saying that the definition of success is very relative, right? It really depends on every single person. For example, for me, success means wanting what I have, not about having what I want. I'm at that stage where I can genuinely say, and I keep on having this conversation with my husband about, I think I have everything I need. So anything else is just, cherry on top, right? So, and everything I have now is what I want. For example, we look at a house that is on sale, and it's like bigger house. It has like swimming pool. It's in a very nice neighborhood, and it's like, wow, this is amazing. But then as I think about it, no, I'm happy with my house now. It is smaller, but it's a home, and every single room is actually being fully utilized. So like, okay, it's for me, I'm already like at the success level that I want, just because I have that peace of mind. But now, answering your question, if we just look at the general term and maybe general definition about being success, and this is talking about success in tech, I would probably define it as having a clear purpose, bringing it to life, and then seeing how it actually brings impact to a bigger society out there. Because I believe in tech more than others, that's when I look at like product is really created to solve real problems, right? And the kind of person that I can think of to represent that is actually my own CEO. And like, she's not here. She doesn't know I'm going to share this, but this is like genuinely what I think of her. And I just love her. And she's one of the reasons why I joined this company, right? Her name is Dayudara Permata. She is the CEO and also the co-founder of Pinhome. And why I think of her as the representation of this successful figure is because I know for sure her story before she even built Pinhome. Like in the past 10 years, she's been buying property every single year, right? And then what she realized that every single time she faced the same challenges, which is, for example, oh my God, it's not easy to find accurate and comprehensive information about each property, for example, because, the information that is even out there in the platform, let's say the digital platform, is also not complete, or sometimes it's actually inaccurate, or when you are trying to buy a property in a place that is not familiar for you, then you also don't know the price range. Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? And then again, the other problem is also about financing. Mortgage access in Indonesia is only 4.5%. So many people actually ineligible for whatever reasons. It's mainly about the Bank Indonesia criteria, right? So basically, why I think of her as a successful figure is because first, she really bring Pinhome because she understands the pain point. She really tried to make sure when she built Pinhome is because it's gonna solve the problem, and she built that into the platform. right? So it's all really about user-driven thinking, focusing on the real user problem, then bringing it into the solution, and then making it happen. And again, the impact, I've seen it, like even I still couldn't believe every single time I shared to my friends about this. Like every single day, I have daily cadence talking about our net revenue every single day. In my mind, like, can we talk about selling a house every day through a platform, right? But apparently, yes, we're doing that. And I'm now also not just a CMO, actually, I'm a business vertical leader, which means I am responsible for like the P&L of the business for certain verticals, and brokerage is one, mortgage is second. So, and it's been fun because, you know, I learn, I grow, and, you know, the fact that I see how what she does with Building Pin Home actually enables so many Indonesians that initially didn't have that access becomes, you know, empowered, and it's such a, you know, life-changing thing. Also, we have home service, which maybe a lot of you know it as Go Live back then, right? Home service is now part of Pin Home Service. And then you have this rekan jasa, yeah, where, you know, these are people who also like whatever that we do every day impact how much money or how much food they bring to the table that day. That's the kind of impact that, you know, this business is bringing. And for me, that's amazing. And like, it's pretty awesome to be part of this, right? And she is one of the one that makes this happen. So yeah, that's why I think of her.
Wow, so we are presented with two amazing women in tech today. And now we are going to open up a discussion to the audience. And we have selected two students who will have the opportunity to ask directly to Mbak Fibri today. So we will have Rachel Aurelia and Meti Hervina. So please join us and come forward to the stage.
Hello, Mbak Fidi.
Hi, Rachel. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Okay, so yeah, my name is Rachel, and I'm currently a part of the machine learning cohort in Bangkit, but I'm also a student at Universitas Indonesia studying actuarial science. And actually, what a coincidence that I'm also a part of Pin Home, like right now.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's amazing.
under the commercial team. So yeah, I get it very fascinating to hear some of your stories. So my question will be, if we're talking about women in tech, what do you see as the future of women in tech, and like what role can students play in shaping that future?
I think the future for women in tech is definitely still very, very wide open, and all I can see is just, you know, even more exciting potential future. It comes with a, you know, a bigger opportunities as well as responsibilities to be able to drive more of this, you know, diversity and inclusion into the industry. I would say where everyone should play a role, not just female, but also even male who believe in the power of the female, right? Now, in terms of the role of the students, I think when we talk about students, it means like usually you guys are still like, you know, very early stage, you're still very young, you're still very ambitious, very excited, right? At the same time, maybe still pretty much externally driven. You're still kind of like finding your professional identity, how it should be, how it looks like, even finding your own identity in general, right? So I guess before we talk about how students can shape the role of women in tech, I guess let's make sure you also find yourself first, like understand who you are, understand what truly matters for you, right? And find your own voice. So, like, what is it that you really care about as a female? But also, what is it that your superpower is, right? I guess, it's very, it goes without saying that we all need to kick ass in whatever that we do, but then we need to top it off, right? Top it off with what is that additional Venus female energy and superpower that can give us that competitive edge to move forward even faster or even better. But before that, even like you need to question, do you want to move forward that fast? Or, you actually want to be just this rock star, meaning that you are the rock, you are really good at what you do, but then you want to focus there. You don't want to move as fast because you still want to learn, for example. But there's also like the superstar, maybe the one that want to go fast. But guys, what I learned, when you are still young, the time is long. So like chill a little bit. Spend time to really build yourself first, right? Because I know nowadays so many external pressure, so many society expectations, so many kind of like I don't know, trends that are going on that also feels like, oh, I need to also keep up or whatever that is, right? So it's easy for you to be like swing here and there, and at the end maybe got into something that you don't even know whether this is what you want or not. You're so busy spending time to be able to impress other people that maybe you don't even like. Then like, what the fuck? Like, why are you even doing it, right? So just find your own voice, understand what truly matters for you, and then find that superpower within you. What does it mean? Only then you can start advocating for yourself. Sometimes that's also the thing that female struggle a little bit. For example, like even negotiating for salary, for example. For me, I never really know, and I never want to know like how much other people is getting paid, because I'm not sure I'm ready to hear that, right? But what I believe is I'm gonna fight for what I deserve based on what I know, my self-worth, right? And sometimes it's also not easy to be able to understand your self-worth just because you have that sort of like imposter syndrome, for example, or you have such a high expectation on yourself. So like advocate for yourself only after you work on yourself. You believe in yourself. You understand who you are. You understand your self-worth. You understand your voice, right? And after you be able to advocate for yourself, then also find someone else to advocate for you. Find network, find community, find mentor that also believes in you, that also share the same passion as you, that also share the same values as you. Because I think as you go through the journey, at least from my experience, what I learned is those circles that you keep close will really define the kind of journey that you will have along the way. Even when you reach your lowest bottom, then you know things will be okay because I have this, trusted circle that will help me to be able to get back up and move forward. Or at least telling me that, hey, it's okay to be struggling, but then help me to, okay, now let's move on, right? I guess it's very important. And after you have all of those things, last but not least, then start paying it forward. Advocate for others. Be that female power that starts building the next generation as well, right? Like anak SMP, anak SMA, all the girls that are also going to go through, their adolescence years, their, adulting period, right? They can also learn from your journey, right? And, that will, at least for me, I think that's where life can be fulfilling. The journey is long. I am already like 40 something years old. But then as I realized, shit, I will still have another 40 years to go if I still live according to the life expectancy. It is a long, long journey. So I understand you guys have very high spirit to immediately make a difference, immediately go up the ladder, all of those things. But guys, chill. It's really it's important to understand the destination, but even that destination can evolve or can change, right? So make sure throughout the journey you have at least these nuggets of joy that you can always look back with smile, or at least you can look back with pride, because you know you grow and you learn and you become a better person. I guess, yeah. Sorry, yeah, it's kind of long, but yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Fibriya. If I can conclude, I guess it's about finding purpose in ourselves and like what do we want in life before we climb up the ladder, and also to have joy in every steps and milestones that we will go through in order to achieve our end goal. Yeah.
True.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much,
I think
Fibriya.
thank you, Rachel. I think we're losing our moderator.
Oh yeah. But I think my friend Matty, yeah, she's going to ask something. Yeah.
Hi, Matty. Sorry, Matty. Somehow I cannot hear you.
Halo Mbak
Hello?
Fibri.
Yes. Okay. Welcome back.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Okay, let me introduce myself first. Mbak Fibri, my name is Meti Harvina, and I'm a telecommunication engineering student at Telkom University. And now in Bangkit program, I'm studying in the cloud computing learning path. I want to ask you, balancing work and personal life is another challenge that women in tech face. And how do you balance your personal life with your career in tech? And what advice do you have for students who are interested in pursuing a career in this field but are concerned about work-life balance?
Yeah. Thank you, Matty. I think work-life balance is always this big word. Even when I was in another industry, like when I was in FMCG, it has already became this kind of like challenge, yeah. Tapi I have to admit, with the kind of pace, the kind of complexity in tech industry, it is probably an even bigger challenge. So I think throughout my journey, what I learned, and I am learning by drowning, basically, right? Because I think our formula also needs to evolve according to our situation. But if I can narrow it down into like 3 steps on my formula about managing work-life balance, I would go with the first one is really like starting with the why. Like, why am I even here? What I'm trying to achieve, because I think in tech, the expectation is very high, right? And at the same time, the challenges can also be very overwhelming. And this is true no matter what level you are, actually. So I feel like the most successful person that can really thrive in tech is the one that has a very clear long-term purpose and mission behind what they do. They're not joining just because, oh, this company has a big name. This is like a very shiny place to work because they have a lot of nice perks. They have a nice office building, or I have a very shiny title, or whatever that is. That can be part of consideration, but then it takes more than that to be able to keep you going and make you feel like you are balanced, because you feel, yes, I'm tired, but I'm also fulfilled. For me, that's what work-life balance means. Because I think work-life balance doesn't mean that you should always have only 8 hours of working days. At some point, you can probably only have like 2 hours maybe. I don't know, right? Because of the flexibility all of those things, but you need to feel what you do actually matter, because it serves a bigger mission than just what's in front of you. So I guess really understanding what truly matters for you, what you're really looking for in life, and how what you do in your role, or at least why you are in that company, fits into that, right? Like, if you ever heard the name of Simon Sinek, he's this expert in, management and culture building and organization building. Then he has this book, which is like Start with Why, because I think that's really the fuel for you to go for those extra miles in life. So that's one. And then second, when you try to really understand what truly matters for you, then you really need to be very honest, right? Very honest to yourself, because I think especially for the young people like you guys, the external factors can play still a much bigger influence. So just be very, very clear and very honest which one that is actually truly coming from your heart. What is it that truly matters? For example, and this is not even an example about work. When I was still single, like maybe most of you, I was thinking about, hey, I'm a marketer, yeah. And in marketing, I learned about segmentation. Then why don't I try to implement that into understanding who should be my target audience to find a husband, for example, to find my life partner, right? Then when I be honest with myself, then one of the criteria that I put was he needs to be mostly logical, occasionally romantic. Because for me, like, I don't really care about being given flower, whatever, but like I want to have a very logical, honest, clear conversation, for example. Now, then bring it to your kind of like conversation with yourself about, so what is it really important? What truly matters for me? That will give me that sense of satisfaction. Then, whether I spend 8 hours or just spend 2 hours or spend 12 hours, it doesn't matter, because I feel my life still complete. I feel balanced, right? I guess the definition of work-life balance is very subjective, again, just like the definition of success. So only when you understand those internal factors within you, then you can also get that feel of balance, right? Last but not least, it's also about prioritization. For example, what's truly important for you for that day is very different with what they are tomorrow. When my kids are having their performance at school or when they got sick. So for me, my priority is clear. I need to get my kids to the doctor. Or sometimes I was still thinking about, if it is just performance that seems to be pretty, not that important actually, right? And I have this meeting at the same time. Which one should I choose? But then I guess how I finally make decision always goes back to just one question. 5 years from now, what will I regret more? Not joining this meeting, for example, or not being there for my kids on the moment that matter for them. Because for them, it's the most important day in my life on my 3rd grade, for example, right? So again, prioritization. Or for example, you have very important meeting, but then suddenly your siblings misalnya tiba-tiba, tiba-tiba kecelakaan. Then, by all means, like, forget about the meeting, take care of your siblings, right? Then that's when you feel like, okay, when you are clear about the one that matters more, when you are clear about your sense of purpose, when you are clear about those two, then it's easy for you to prioritize. And that prioritization can change depends on situation. And that's when you feel like, okay, my life is pretty balanced because I am staying true to myself, what truly matters, what is important, but also for this day, at least I know I'm doing the right thing. Tomorrow, let's look at what is the right thing means, right? So yeah, I guess that would be my formula, right? I don't mind to to work until, let's say, 1 a.m. every now and then, but I don't want to do it every day, right? Because I want to make sure I spend time for myself as well. Or even though I have to work until 1 a.m. because there's something very, very important, but I have to make sure that 10 p.m. until at least 10:30, I am there on my kids' bed to take them to sleep, right? And still read them books and have some chats, all of those things, right? So yeah, I guess it's a matter of playing this puzzle and make sure like you are staying true to your need. I guess that's how I find my work-life balance. I hope that helps.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for your great advice, Mbak Fibri. To be honest, as far as I know, finding balance between pursuing my own dream and taking care of my family could feel like a dilemma. And it is not rare to find many people who choose one of these two as a priority and then decide to let go another one. So
Right.
I hope your advice could help not only me but all of us who still want to pursue our dream in the future. Thank you, Mbak Fibri.
Thank you, Matty. I can relate. I can relate. And yeah, I guess as I mentioned, yeah, there were times when I felt like I had to choose one over the other temporarily, right? I did that. I had no regret. I did that twice, and the second time was actually pretty recently. The first time was when I felt like I need to find the right school for my second one, and I want to really spend time to make sure I do it right, step by step, going through like child psychologists and whatnot, right? The other time was after my dad passed away, and I saw my mom spiraled down, my sister spiraled down, and that guilt, that demon, right, within me made me feel like, okay, I don't want to miss this opportunity. But that demon is also because I'm staying true to what truly mattered for me, which is this being there for my family, right? But then also what I found during that period was, hey, actually, trying to rescue everyone was not saving anyone, because then I thought I was okay. Then I also started to spiral down, and it doesn't help for everyone basically. So I came back to work, and I'm happier because I have another channel to express myself instead of like feeling like, okay, my success metrics is my mom's happiness, for example, which is not fully within my control, no matter what I do, for example, right? So yeah, it's not black and white for sure, and you will probably make some wrong decision. But I guess even so, if that decision is made based on what you believe truly matters for you, that's when you will have no regret. All you have is some learning about yourself, about your situation, about other people, which will help you to grow, becomes a better person. So hang in there, and yeah, find good supporting circles, yeah, to keep you going and to keep you strong. Hug.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Fibri. I will return into the video.
Wow. Thank you, Meti and Rachel, for your questions. It's very insightful to like hear you converse with Muffy Brie about those topics. And we'd like to open the floor now for some questions from other Bunkit students in YouTube chat box. So the first one from Gregorian MG. Hashtag ask. As you mentioned that imposter syndrome makes us feel that our skill is not as good as other people claim, and this can lead to self-confidence issue. How can we overcome it?
Right. Again, based on my personal experience, what has been helpful is, one, use data points. So whenever you feel like you're doing something good, my tips is take a note. or like make sure you find a way to record that, even it's only as a small, writing on your notebook or whatever, but then you have data points. I call it small victories. And I'm the type of person that every single New Year's Eve, that's how I spend my time, which is kind of like reflecting back, understand my journey that year, understand what I have accomplished, whether it's small milestones or big milestones. Then, understand how those journey makes me the person I am today, right? Also understand the learning, understand the failures, but also understand what you learn from that, right? So data driven is also important to make sure when you have that negative self-talk, then you can look at the data and then you realize, oh, actually, I'm pretty awesome because I get this, even like a compliment from your boss, from someone like, hey, good job at the presentation. Note it down, why not? Or when, okay, when I was starting being a brand manager, then I put like, okay, I grew the Pantene business by this percentage on May 20 something, right? But then every time I look back, then I know I'm pretty awesome, right? So that's one. And the other thing is have that trusted circle where they can help to also give you a genuine, authentic feedback that is also including of things that they admire about you, things that they think highly of you, or simply just things that they think you're doing right. Because when we are being hard on ourselves, in many cases that I found, other people don't even see that. Other people only see the good, right? And it's good to shower yourself with those things, especially in moment of need. That is okay, but not too much because then you become narcissistic. But I guess having that circle, having mentor, also something that you can look at, because then that person will help you to understand what you're already doing well, as well as helping you to identify area where you can be better without hurting your self-confidence, but making it more like a motivation, right? And I guess having mentor or having sponsor, I would call it, what's the difference? Mentor is someone that will help you to grow in overall, right? But the sponsor is someone that will still talk positively about you, even when you are not in the room. And having this kind of people help you to also grow in your career, as well as making you feel a lot more confident that actually I am awesome. I am pretty awesome. Just remember, stay humble, guys, because there's always the next level, right? I guess it's also important. But yeah, I guess that would be my advice.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Fibri. We're gonna move to the next question. It's from Vanessa Leonora. What strategies have you found to be effective in encouraging more women to pursue careers in tech? And how can we ensure that these efforts are sustained over a long term period?
Yeah, good question. I guess in the past, until pretty recently, I guess you don't really have to sell so much about the industry because it is already like this shiny toy that always allure a lot of talents, right? They want to be part of this exciting industry where all the investment are pouring, and then a lot of perks and different ways of working, all of those things. But when you mention about making sure it's sustainable long term, right? I guess at the end it goes back to making sure that we have the right kind of culture, the right kind of leader in the company with the right kind of values that can really inspire others to wanting to be part of that company. right? I guess what I learned, and this is not in tech, I learned along the way when I moved from one place to a different place. One of the most important decision factor for me is, am I inspired to work with this person that is going to be my boss, right? Do I feel like I want to support him or her? Do I feel like he will also help me to grow into, a better person in whatever ways, right? So I guess at the end, it goes back to culture, it goes back to people, instead of just, compensation, title, um, challenges, and whatnot. That's probably the one that is probably more sustainable in my point of view. Yeah, so we need to make sure we have the right people in the boat, and it needs to start from the top.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Fibri. Again, we're gonna move to the next question. Here, more we have Janita. What do they believe that young women need to know or hear or see to consider technology as a career option?
Young women need to know or hear. I feel like there are so many things that should justify why technology is a really good career option, like the opportunities for women. I guess we started with the discussion about how it is still underrepresented in terms of the female in the leadership, which also means it's a big opportunity for you to climb up the ladder and be, that person for, females representation, and how I would say fulfilling it is in terms of, being able to make impact. I guess that's the biggest thing that, at least for me, remains true until today. That feeling like, wow, I get to be part of, life-changing experience, and even I get to see how every day the needle is actually moved, right? I guess it's a sense of fulfillment that you don't get just from the money coming to your bank account every month, for example, or the kind of perks that you get from the company, right? Because at the end of the day, I feel like when you feel like what you do impact other people's life, it's something that just invaluable. I don't think there's a price tag on it. I guess, yeah, I would go down to those two things: the opportunity for women to really like break through in terms of getting to that leadership position, and really make sure we voice out, we advocate for other women. And second one is, yeah, the ability, the opportunity to actually really make impact. That cannot be traded with any amount of money, I guess. Yeah.
Girls, we need you here in the, tech world too. So, moving to the next question, we're gonna have Angga Sulistyanga. How can male allies support female colleagues' career advancement in tech? And how to prioritize diversity and inclusion, especially in leadership roles, and change the tech culture? Oh, I like this question.
It's a lot of questions. Hold on, yeah. Let me try to read one by one. How can male allies support female colleagues? I think they can support female colleagues by ensuring that the imposter syndrome doesn't hit too hard when they start doing that. Then, like, remind them about, their superpower that a lot of times they forgot, they don't realize, or they kind of like mute down just because they felt like, oh, that's just my own thinking, right? Or like they focus more on what's lacking instead of also seeing what's already good, right? So I guess that's where male can be very supportive, in terms of encouraging the female voice whatever, thoughts, opinion they have, and just, be a complementary power, right? I guess we talk about the potential advantage of being female with that compassion, with that empathy, with that ability to multitask. But on the other hand, male also have their own superpower, right? They can be like super logic. When it's probably a very hard discussion, then maybe male can have a more, I don't know, cool exterior and try to think more with logic, for example. So like be partner, work together, right? So that's probably my answer on that. And then how to prioritize diversity and inclusion, especially in the leadership roles, and change the tech culture. I think, to be honest, because I've been in so many different industries, it is actually in tech where I am exposed to so many topics about female empowerment, so many topics about diversity and inclusion that I never experienced in my other industries before. So we're actually not that bad. Are we there yet? We still have homework. But like, are we that bad compared to other industries? We're actually not, at least in my opinion, right? We're probably even more advanced compared to other industries that are still very, 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 very conventional. For example, maybe like manufacturing, right? But doesn't mean your question doesn't is not valid. So I guess you are right. Leadership, being in leadership roles, definitely comes with an advantage where you can influence it more than not being in leadership roles, right? So how to do it is by trying to bring up this topic, try to advocate about, gender equity or even gender bias, maybe because sometimes people don't realize when that happens. Call that out in a way that is respectful, in a way that is solid, logical, but also compassionate with the other gender without making it like female is the victim. Because, hey, we want to show that we are powerful, right? So we should not, make it sound like it's all bad, but like, hey, there's homework and this is the facts, and let's talk about the solution, right? So like, just basically being in leadership role means that you have more influencing power to be able to probably bring the topic, raise the awareness, educate people, as well as impacting or influencing the policies. For example, about maternity leave, about what does it mean for female when they are on maternity leave and it's performance review time, for example, or when they have to take care of their, old parents, hence they cannot be fully present like their male colleague, for example, all of those things, right? So there's a lot that can be done. But yeah, at least what I'm saying is tech industry is actually not that bad. But yes, there are still ways to go. And let's do it together. And I guess the homework and responsibilities is not just for leadership, because leadership needs those input. They need to hear your voice from, the working team. Because otherwise, then, their good intention may not come across as something that is that supportive, because they may not really understand the real problem, right? So make sure you get your voice heard. Make sure you speak up. Make sure you share that. So yeah, I guess that will be my answer.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Fibri. I really like this topic. Okay, move
You too.
to our last question for the day. Well, for the YouTube chat box, we're going to have our last question from Reynard Matthew Yaputra. Female support, female and male introductory. Women empowerment are two concepts that widely known in the industry nowadays. Which one have a better impact in the future, according to Kak Fibri?
I think both are equally important. In terms of better impact, I would say both are equally impactful, and I personally feel that and experience that, right? For example, when I was in Google, I guess that's really where I felt like I can really do anything because I have this female team, you know, on my side, right? Even though they're not all my direct reports, but also peers, also friends, also manager. So this female support is very impactful because you feel more understood, right? Because you're going through similar challenges, and especially when you already become a working mom and your parents becomes older and start needing some more support, all of those things. I guess that's when, you know, the struggle becomes a lot more challenging, I would say, and having female support that have similar kind of situation, or at least understand more about the situation than the male, I guess is very, very meaningful. But also having the male that believe in women empowerment, because they will also open the door, right? Open the door for more opportunities for other women, or open the door for more discussion or more, you know, supporting policies that can happen, is also equally important. So I don't see one is more important than the others. I think we need both equally. Hence why this kind of topic should also include male audience, because then it helps them to also understand what we've been thinking, what we've been struggling with, and what kind of help and support that we need from each other as well as from the other gender. Just like in marriage or in relationship, right? Sometimes when we are upset and we expect them to understand, they don't. Then they will stay doing the same stupid mistakes over and over again. You need to communicate, right? So yeah, just apply that. That's why there is this term called work husband. Because it helps you in a way when you are so upset about something, so emotional about something. They can probably be the one that help you to go back to a calmer zone, for example, just because they don't take things that personally, for example, right? That's just a very simple example. But yeah, I guess both are equally important. Nothing is better than the other. We need the two to still happen. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for the questions. I see the box are just flooded with great questions, but unfortunately we can only answer 5 of them. And as promised, we have prepared a special gift for the best question from students during our talk today. And maybe Mbak Mutia can tell me, are we ready to reveal the names of the students? Okay. The 5 best questions go to Gregorian, Renard, Vanessa, Jenita, and Anga. Congratulations and thank you so much for participating in the discussion. Later on, the Bangkit team will be in contact with you and tell you about how to redeem the prizes. Okay, well, everybody, we've reached the end of our session today, and it has been such a pleasure to hear about Fibri and feminism and ways to overcome challenges as women and how to, navigate a more inclusive environment for us to thrive in the industry. And I would like to inquire one final question for Mbak Fibri today. What are the messages that you would like to convey to all of our students today?
I guess in a way, it's been said here and there throughout our chat today, Vidya. But I will probably just summarize them into several points. I guess being women comes with its challenges, but also comes with its advantages, right? So just know that you equally have those two things. It's not just about the challenge, but also remember about your superpower, your advantage, right? And really try to just understand what truly matters for you. Find your own voice again before you can really genuinely advocate for yourself and in the future advocate for others. And I guess going back, I guess in tech, it makes overall aspects in life becomes a lot more instant and faster. Even it also impacts the way you think about your career, right? But please again, remember, it's a long journey. So it's good to have destination, but also remember to find joy every single step of the journey. Remember to always stop and look back and understand you are learning so that you know how you can move forward and you know why you are the person you are today and what do you want to in the next milestones to come, right? And last but not least, I guess despite this whole, life that are full of external pressure, external expectation about what success means, what you need to already achieve by this age and whatnot, and so on and so forth. At the end, I think at least at this point, I can genuinely say, and I've been saying this in many other occasions, and I still believe in it so much, which is, it's not about what you have. It's not even about what you give. It's about what you become is what truly matters. So make sure when you look yourself into the mirror at any point of time, you know who you are on the inside, what you think, what you feel about yourself. And make sure you like what you see, not just on the outside, but also on the inside. Make the most out of the journey, every single step of it. That will be my last statement here.
Okay, thank you so much, Mbak Fibri. And thank you for everyone who is joining us today in this very insightful session on women in tech. And we hope you can get so many valuable insights and inspiration from Mbak Fibri and the stories that she told. And remember that diversity and inclusion are essential in building a successful and innovative tech industry. We encourage all of you, regardless of your gender or background, to pursue your passion in tech and strive for excellence. Thank you again to our wonderful speaker here, Mbak Fibriyani Elastria,
Thank you.
uh, for sharing her time and her expertise and her opinions, and to our student guests for their insightful questions. We hope to see you all in our future events, and stay curious and keep learning. Goodbye.
Thank you guys. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thank you, Mbak Fibri.